What's up guys, it's Taylor and I am back with another video. You already know the deal if you read the title. Today I am recapping episode 14 of the Challenge Total Madness on MTV. Now, this was a good episode coming off of last week, which was kind of intense and everything like that. This episode was a great kind of just, competition episode. Not really a lot of drama, but, more focused on competition, and if there was any drama it was strictly because of competition, like no hookups or anything like that. So I really thought this was an interesting episode, but without further ado, let's just get into the recap. So the episode starts off with everybody coming back from elimination. If you remember last week, Melissa and Nani had their elimination and Melissa sent Nani home. So everybody's coming back from that elimination, and we see Bailey and Kyle and Josh. They're the three people left in the house who don't have their red skulls, and they're basically talking about how they want their red skull. It's now or never. They don't know what to expect. They really don't know how many eliminations are left on the girl side or the guy side. So all three of them are, basically saying they got to get their red skull, and they're ready to get it going. They're also talking, and when I say they, I mean the guys. I think Kyle and Josh and maybe a few other people are talking about Anissa, and they're basically talking about how for the girls, because this week is a girls week that they know so far, and they're talking about, everybody knows that Bailey wants to go in. It's time for her to get her red skull, but who is Bailey gonna go against? Because every other girl in the house now has a red skull, so a girl who has a red skull is gonna have to go in for Bailey to compete. And so they're talking about putting Anissa in because it's getting pretty close to the final, and they don't want Anissa. They don't want to run a final with Anissa. They feel like Anissa's dead weight. They feel like she's past her prime, and I get it, but also, there's something to be said about Anissa, still being here, 13 seasons in? I don't know the specific number, but, she's not horrible. There are people in this show worse than her, and, they're taking her age into consideration and the fact that she's never been to a final, but she's got grit, and, she's got determination, so I don't feel like they should write her off, but that's basically what they're doing in this moment. They want someone, they just don't want to run the final with her. Nelson over here, well, he's in the room too. He's not really agreeing with this. He feels like Anissa is a great competitor. He doesn't feel like they should be talking about her like that, so he kind of talks about that in his confessional. We also see Anissa talking to her mom. They're having their conversation over FaceTime and everything like that, so that was pretty cool to see, a step away from the game and just see Anissa talking to family, and her just being Anissa the person and everything like that. We also see Corey and Fessy. They're playing pool and they're talking, and they're basically just talking about life and how Fessy brings up the fact that once again he was supposed to go to the NFL, but he got hurt, and he was like, I think he said like he was like in the top 30. I don't know how football works or those rankings work or anything like that, but I guess he was one of the top prospects for his position to go to the NFL, and he got injured and it just didn't happen. And so him and Corey were basically just talking about how because Corey used to play football too, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he was planning on going to the NFL, but I know he used to play football when he was in college. And, I think they're both just talking about how, when life doesn't go the way you think it is and everything like that. And, Fessy is kind of just telling Corey about his life and about growing up in America and, being young when 9/11 happened and just wanting to represent for his community because he's Muslim and everything like that. And I think that's really dope. We don't always see that type of stuff on TV, on reality TV or scripted television either. And it's really cool to see Fessy, even though he's not necessarily living his dream was to go to the NFL, he's still doing something. The challenge, it's a good platform, and we've seen so far that he's a really good competitor. So this could be a second opportunity for him. Like I said, it's not the NFL, but it's something that he can still represent for his family and people who look like him. So that was very interesting to see. It was a very interesting scene. Next, we see everyone kind of getting ready for bed. I think the TV, like, it was like 12:58 in the morning or something like that, like 1 o'clock in the morning basically. Everybody's getting ready to go to bed, everybody's, you know, chilling and everything like that, and all of a sudden the alarm goes off and it is time for this week's challenge. It's a night challenge, so it caught everybody off guard, but I think that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it the challenge. So basically, everybody gets to, you know, the challenge and everything like that. And this week's challenge is called Running Out of Time. So basically what it is everybody's going to be playing as individuals, everybody for themselves. And there's this big pile of material that everybody has to run to, and they're getting material out of it, like heavy stuff and everything like that, and they have to bring it back. And once they bring it back, there's like these drums or buckets with each player's name on it. You fill up the bucket of the person that you want to, you know, have the heaviest drum or whatever, and eventually when everyone comes back, you have to pick it up and hold the drum for the second stage. Whoever can hold it for the longest, well, 2 people that can hold it for the longest wins. So basically, TJ blows the horn and they all get going. Everybody has like their different strategies and you know, things like that. The Young Bucks, which is basically Fessy, Nelson, and Corey, and I think Josh is in on it too. They decide that they're gonna go for Kyle first. So they're gonna go for Kyle, they're gonna fill up his drum, and then once Kyle's drum is finished and everything like that, they're gonna go for Rogan and Bananas. You know, everybody, like I said, the girls have their own individual thing. Casey's going for Bailey. Anissa is kind of behind the pack of girls and everything like that. You know, she's, like she said, she's basically just doing this for herself. You know, I don't think that Anissa really has any strong ties left in the house. I mean, I guess you could say Bananas, but even then they aren't super duper close. Nani's gone. And, you know, Anissa is by herself basically. I mean, she has some people rooting for her, like Corey and Nelson and stuff like that, but you know, she's by herself, so she's kind of behind. She's not really gunning for anybody. I don't think anybody's really gunning for her. She's just doing her own thing. But basically everybody's going and you know, TJ tells them that they have only a certain amount of time left. Everybody's rushing back. Now if you don't make it back in time to your drum once, you know, the time is out, you're eliminated. You don't get to participate in stage 2. So everybody has that in mind. Everybody's doing and going as fast as they can. But time runs out eventually, and Nelson, Anissa, and Kyle are the 3 people who don't make it back for stage 2. So they're unfortunately eliminated. Everybody else makes it back. Stage 2 gets going, and you know, pretty soon we see everybody kind of like dropping like flies. Like, these drums are heavy. You know, Bailey drops hers, Melissa drops hers, Josh, you know, drops his, Bananas drops his. Now, the interesting thing about Josh before he drops his drum is he makes a deal with Fessy and Corey, who are obviously doing really good in this challenge. They're strong dudes. So he makes a deal, Josh makes a deal with Fessy. He's like, look, I have to drop my drum. This is really heavy for me. So if I drop my drum and you make it into the tribunal, will you also bring me into the tribunal, because I want to go down and get my red skull? And I think Fessy said yes to Josh. But after Josh dropped, he also makes a deal with Corey, who obviously is a closer friend to him, and is like, you know, I got you. You know, you don't have to worry about it. Let me have this tribunal. I'm gonna bring you into the tribunal too, and then you'll have 5 tribunal wins just like you want. Because that was Corey's big thing. He wants 5 tribunal wins, you know, the most out of any cast member. And so he also makes that deal with Corey. So once that's over, the girl that wins is Jenny. Jenny, obviously, being the strong girl, she beats every other girl out. Every other girl dropped before her. And then Fessy is the guy who wins. So Fessy and Jenny are the first 2 to make up the tribunal. Now, you would think this would be easy, but now it's not, because Fessy has to choose between Josh and Corey. Now, Fessy was trying to tell Jenny that, look, if we bring in Corey, we can, as the tribunal, we can throw Josh in, and the house is going to vote for Kyle anyway. There are only 2 guys left who haven't gotten a red skull. They're going to go against each other anyway. Just let that happen. Jenny doesn't want to do that. Jenny wants to bring in either Kyle or Josh, because they're the 2 who don't have red skulls, which I guess I can see it, but Jenny and Fessy both made points. They both made points. They both make a lot of sense, but I think Fessy's made more sense, and obviously Fessy made a deal, so, he wants that to happen, but it didn't go like that. TJ asked Jenny who she wants to bring into the tribunal, which I also thought was kind of weird. Like, why didn't he ask both of them? Although it wouldn't have mattered if they had conflicting answers, but whatever. He asks Jenny who she wants to bring into the tribunal, and she picks Josh. So now Corey's upset. He's not necessarily upset at Fessy. You know, he says it when they get back to the house. He's like, I'm not mad at you. I don't think you did me dirty, but you didn't do me right either. Like, you said you were gonna bring me in, and he couldn't even do that. So he's kind of looking at Fessy funny, but it is what it is. And he's obviously upset at Jenny because he's helped Jenny out in the past. He's the reason she went in against Jen Lee, and he also saved her once. So, you know, he's like, Jenny owes me, and the fact that she hasn't paid up on that, like, what's going on? So he's upset with Jenny, and he's kind of upset with Fessy, but he understands, I think. So that was that situation. And but basically, yeah, Josh, Fessy, and Jenny are now the tribunal. And what they have to do is interview or interrogate 2 girls and 2 guys, because this week is a double elimination for guys and girls. So the house will be voting for 1 guy and 1 girl, and the tribunal will be interrogating 2 guys and 2 girls. House nominations, and Kyle starts it off. He tells everyone that he wants to go down and get his red skull. Josh is already in the tribunal, so Josh is gonna throw himself in, and so Kyle wants to go in and he wants to get his red skull. Everyone is pretty much in agreement, and everybody agrees that Kyle will be the guy nominee. Then everybody has to go back around and pick a girl nominee. Bailey, she, you know, kind of takes it. She's like, look, I'm the only girl left who doesn't have a red skull. I also want to go down and get it. And like, just like Kyle, everyone is pretty much in agreement and there's no resistance, and they give it to her. And Bailey is the girl nominee for the week. So Kyle and Bailey will be the 2 going down to purgatory to try and get their red skulls. We also see in this scene, after the house noms, Fessy and Melissa are exploring the idea of Anissa going in. Nobody wants to run a final with Anissa other than Nelson and Corey. Maybe I've yet to see anybody really pulling for Anissa. You know, she's pulling for herself, but you know, I don't know, she's kind of up a creek here, it seems, with everyone. But everyone's pretty much trying to throw her in. They don't want to run a final with her. She's never been to a final, and everybody kind of just doesn't want to deal with that, you know. I do think that Anissa's a great competitor, but I get the sentiment. I get it. You know, you want people who are gonna try, and that's not to say that she's not gonna try, but you want people who have final experience, you just want people who have been there before, or if they haven't been there before, they look like that they can make it. I don't think that everyone in the house thinks that Anissa can actually make it, you know, unfortunately. So they're still exploring that idea. We also see Corey and Anissa talking. He's still talking about how he's upset and everything like that. Everyone's hanging out for the night. Fessy and Josh are talking about the situation. You know, Josh is asking why Corey's so upset, and Fessy's telling him. Tribunal time, and the tribunal once again is Fessy, Josh, and Jenny. And the 2 guys that they pick, which are basically throwaways, are Nelson and Rogan. Josh is throwing himself in, so the guys that they're interrogating, it doesn't matter. So Nelson and Rogan are the 2 guys that they pick. The 2 girls that they pick are Anissa and Melissa. So like I said, the 2 guys are throwaways, but the girls are kind of tricky because they're trying to decide who should go in against Bailey, Anissa or Melissa. And Melissa's like, you know, just consider all your options. You know, I've been in, I don't want to go back in. I know other girls in the house don't want to go back in. You know, I know it's slim pickings, but you know, just consider all your options. And then Anissa basically comes in and she says the same thing. Consider all your options and don't just throw me in because you think I'm a weak competitor. You know, I've never been to a final before, but I have grit. You know, a final isn't just about running. It isn't just about endurance. You have to be good at puzzles. You know, you have to do physical stuff. You have to be a good swimmer. There are other things that happen in a final besides running. You can't just throw all your eggs in that one basket, you know. So that's basically what Anissa was telling them. And she's right. She has a lot of points. You can't throw your eggs all in one basket, okay? But we'll see what the tribunal does, because I don't think that they were convinced, and we'll see. It's now time for purgatory. So everyone gets to purgatory, and once again we have Cal and Bailey going down to get their red skulls. They were the house nominees. The tribunal decides to vote for Anissa to go in, and I know that, I don't want to say that they didn't want to do it, but I know that kind of hurt her feelings, because I know she not poured her heart out, but she really did fight to stay in that house. So Anissa has to go in against Bailey, and Josh decides to throw himself in against Kyle. So it's going to be Kyle versus Josh and Anissa versus Bailey. This week's elimination is called Knot of War. So there are 2 cars on each side, and there's rope. And so I think each contestant is going to be either tied to some, they're going to be tied to some rope and everything like that. And basically what they have to do is maneuver through these cars and everything like that, and make it as knotted up as possible, as crazy as possible, and you know, make it as hard to get through and get out of as possible for 15 minutes. And then after 15 minutes they're gonna trade, and they have to try to undo what their opponent just did. So I believe we've also seen this before. I can't recall the challenge or the season that we've seen this type of elimination or just game before, but I do think we've seen this before. Anyways, the girls are up first, and so Anissa and Bailey. So TJ blows the horn, they get going. Starting off, it does look like that Bailey has a little bit more gas in the tank than Anissa, and they're maneuvering through these cars and everything like that. Bailey's getting through the window, she's making knots and stuff like that, but Anissa is kind of, having a hard time doing it. I mean, she picks it up eventually, and it actually looks like, for a minute she has more of a thing going than Bailey, but it does seem like Bailey has the edge here, but they both maneuver and they both make knots, and they try to make it as tough as possible for each other for 15 minutes, and then TJ blows the horn and it's time for them to switch. He says there's no break, just go straight to it. So they switch, they get straight to it, and they're maneuvering through. Now this is interesting because even though Bailey seemed like she did a good job actually creating her knots on the side, it did look like she was struggling just a little bit to undo Anissa's. Anissa did a pretty good job of putting those knots in there and making it kind of like a crazy mess. Anissa, like I said, it does seem like she's doing a better job than actually creating the knots, and she actually is the first to untangle. Once you untangle, you have to get all the rope out of the ring before you can be done. But Bailey kind of catches up to her. They're both getting the rope out of the ring, and Bailey just does it first. So Bailey wins the elimination for the girls, and unfortunately we have to say goodbye to Anissa for this season. Next we have the guys. We have Josh versus Kyle. TJ blows the horn and they get going. So right off the bat, I think that Josh's size for maneuvering through the vehicle, it's a little tough for him. It's a little tough for him because he's a bigger guy than Kyle. It's tough for him to get through the window and stuff like that, so he's having to exert more energy getting through the window, but he's doing it. He's making knots and stuff like that. It's not as, none of it's organized, but Kyle just seems to have a better strategy. Kyle's going through windows, he's making knots, he's doing this, he's doing that. And Josh is kind of cracking under pressure. It's like he can't just get it. Like he can't just be like, okay, let me go here, there. Like he can't just get it, he's doing okay. It's not horrible. He's making knots, he's making a mess, he's doing the best he can, but Kyle's just doing it better. But they're both, creating this mess for the other person to undo. 15 minutes is up, they have to switch, and once again, Kyle is just better at undoing the knots that Josh created. Josh does okay. Josh is he's a strong guy. He's a strong competitor, but he's obviously having a difficult time. Kyle gets his knots untangled and everything like that, and he drags all the rope out of the ring, and Kyle wins for the guys. So both Kyle and Bailey are the Red Skull winners for this week, and that brings us to the end of the episode. If you made it this far in the video, you might as well like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will be back next week with another recap. Until next time, peace out.